Never did I think I would be putting my whole childhood on blast for a podcast, but here we are. I never really thought about my childhood that much. I knew it wasn't great, but I never really thought about how badly it affected me until I was into my 30s already. There was this one night, I'm standing right outside the shower. I turned on the hot water. I'm waiting for the water to heat up. There's steam in the shower and steam in the bathroom, and I'm just standing there thinking to myself. And there was this moment of clarity at some point where it was like the weight was lifted off my shoulders. It was just like a breath of fresh air, just like, whew, it's all gone. And it was like everything that had ever happened to me, I could finally let go of. Everything in my life at that moment just made sense. I take a shower, I get out of the shower, I go lay down in my bed, and I open my iPhone and I open my notes app. And I decide I'm gonna write down every single thing that ever happened to me in my childhood up until that point in my life. And I look at this on all these notes and I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, wow. It's like almost shocking to see all of it written out like that. There's so many things that happen in such a short period of time, and it's crazy to think, yeah, this is my story. I'm looking at it, it's my story. But to think that there's so many more people like this out there. I know people that had stories like this. I know people who had stories that were much worse than mine. And they're just out there, nobody ever talks about their childhood. Nobody ever really brings it up. Why would you? It's kind of embarrassing for one. You may be ashamed of some of the stuff that happened. Nobody really ever moves on from it. They just kind of bottle it up like myself. I never talk about it. I never really think about it. So, one day I'm finally like, wow, it all makes sense. Like so much that happened, affected me in a bad way. And I'm looking at all these notes and I'm like, it's really not shocking because it's like my story. It's not shocking because it's special. It's shocking because it's normal. My name is Mario Mitchell, and I am an artist known as Purplehearts. I was born July 28th, 1989 in San Jose, California. My mom was a crackhead and my dad was a drug trafficker. I was born a crack baby, which basically just means I was born with crack in my system. My mom was pregnant with me and smoked crack, and I was born with crack in my system going through withdrawals. And I always knew I was born a crack baby, but I never really knew all the circumstances in which I was born. I never knew the whole story until recently. I had started working on the series and I reached out to my half-brother, which is my dad's son from another marriage before my mom. And I had never talked to any of these people, like from my half side. I never talked to any of those people from my dad's side ever. When my mom had passed back in 2009, his daughter had reached out to me and was just like, hey, just so you know, we're here, we're around. And I was like, what? I didn't even know you guys were real. And so I never talked to them really until recently, where I'm like, well, it's probably a good time to reach out and see if they can tell me anything about my dad. So when I start working on the series, I get a hold of them and we have a conversation for like an hour and a half. And we talk a lot about what my dad was like, and how I was born and a bunch of stuff that I really just didn't know.
Hello, is this Mario?
Hey, what's going on? This is me.
Good, how you doing, dude?
Good. It's weird, because we're all named Mario. So it's like, hey, Mario, is this Mario?
Well, let me tell you, you're tied to 10 Marios.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
What my dad or your dad did for a living, he was a maintenance manager in downtown San Jose. So this company owned like 4 blocks downtown. And he was the maintenance manager for all these 4 blocks. He was a very, very smart man, your dad. He was very smart. He could work from an elevator to build to construct. He did everything. He managed downtown for the longest time. That's what he did for a living, until everything kind of went sideways. Now, my dad also lived, understand this, he was tied to different family too. A family, a lifestyle that, that you sometimes you can see on TV. But he was that person, unfortunately. But he separated life, 2 different lives. He had his family life, working life, being the father, the way everything's supposed to look like, a house, normal. But he also was tied to people from Mexico where they brought a lot of product up. And that's how your mom and my dad ended up meeting in a way. When you came along, unfortunately, was not in the best circumstances because at the time she was using it. She was using why? Because my dad was a connection to everybody except downtown San Jose. So on the corner, there's a street called Stevens Creek Boulevard, or it's called San Carlos and Bascom Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And in that corner, if you ever look it up or Google it, San Carlos and Bascom, there's a parking lot, there's a little shopping center. And inside that shopping center, there's a 49er bar, it used to be called. It's an old bar. And something happened, and your mom had you right there. And the ambulance was called, and so you were premature.
In the bar?
You were outside the bar.
Wow.
By the parking lot. And you were a premature baby. Now, when you were born, you were going through withdrawals. So my dad and your mom didn't get you right away. Your mom and my dad wasn't telling me much of what the situation was or how it was evolving because you were in custody of the county. Mm-hmm. Because, you were born addicted.
Do you know how long I was like away before they got me back?
It was months. It was 3 to 5 months.
Okay. I was always curious how my parents met, just knowing that my mom was a crackhead, because my mom never had anything bad to say about my dad after he passed. All she could ever say was like, yeah, your dad was so smart, he could take a whole television apart and put it back together better than it was brand new. And I'm like, what? Then how did he end up with a crackhead, So when I heard that he was a drug trafficker, which I also didn't know until I started talking to them, I was just like, wow, it's kind of mind-blowing that I didn't know any of that. So it makes sense that, they would get together like that. I was also very unaware that I was born in a parking lot. Like, that actually did blow my mind. Not that it changes anything about my life, but it is crazy to think that my mom was just out there in the streets doing that dirty work, doing crack and doing all this crap, and then she went to a bar, and then something happened, and then she had me in the parking lot, and then the ambulance gets called, and they come, and then they literally just take me away from her. And then you would think, watching your kid being taken away from you immediately after birth because they know you're a crack baby and you smoked crack with that baby in your womb, you'd think that'd be a wake-up call to be like, maybe I should stop smoking crack. But clearly wasn't.
Things got better between my dad and your mom and working with the system a little bit. And one time my dad showed up. I used to work at this auto shop, and you and your mom, your mom and my dad showed up, and my dad was saying that he was going to go to Missouri, but he had to go do something right away first. But he was going to come check in with me or tell me that they were leaving to Missouri. That was the last time I saw him. My understanding is I think that's when the county gave you to your mom and my dad, and that's the day your mom and my dad took off to Missouri.
So we moved to Poplar Bluff, Missouri in 1990, and we lived in a small house on Truman Street. And it was myself, my parents, and my brother Andrew. My brother Andrew was from a previous marriage with my mom. She got married to another guy before my dad, and they had Andrew. So I guess whenever they came to Poplar Bluff, my mom just decided to bring Andrew with her. But his dad wasn't having it, and so he came from California to Poplar Bluff, picked him up, and then just left. And it's crazy because even to this day, that was like 33 years ago. I have never talked to him since, and it's crazy. I've reached out to him since this podcast. I started working on it, but I haven't heard back, so it's kind of crazy, He's just my brother, and he's out there somewhere, but who knows what he's doing.
When I lived with my dad was the kind of guy, he had, like what you said in the video, how you get that. Mm-hmm. He was the kind of man, he had from cyanide to liquid mercury, from fucking guns. He had a gun license. He was a gun dealer. We had money. He had a lot of stuff, and he always had some weird shit like cyanide. Mm-hmm. Okay, was one of them. He had vials of liquid mercury. What the hell he used that for? Beyond me. So I think my dad at the time before this incident happened, I think he was kind of looking for how can we get the fuck out of here, or how can we do something different? Because I don't know if he was having issues or not up there, but he wasn't fitted in with all the people around there. For a little bit, then there was the opportunity that he was thinking about coming down. You, your mom, were coming back down to California. I told him I was sending the plane tickets to come down here. Well, I didn't hear much after that. It kind of, the line went kind of dead. I didn't hear much from my dad until October 4th.
So when I was 3 years old, my dad killed himself in this house right here. It's crazy that people actually have to live there. That's weird. I'm like, hey, did you know my dad killed himself here? I don't remember too much about my dad. I do remember that house we lived in though. Like I can remember the layout. I remember how it looked, like everything. Like my mom's piano was in the living room and we had an NES hooked up to the TV that we played Zelda on. We lived a couple of blocks away from the train tracks, so sometimes my dad would take me down to the train tracks so we could watch all the trains go by. And they do, you know, the honk honk thing. That was always cool. But I don't really remember too much about my dad. I mean, I do remember that like randomly at nighttime, my mom and dad would send me out to the driveway and get marshmallows from this guy that would deliver marshmallows, whatever that means. So basically it'd be late at night, like 9 or 10 p.m. It's dark outside. And they'd be like, Mario, go out in the driveway and meet that person that's in the car and get the marshmallows. So I'd go out there, somebody'd pull up into the driveway, but not like all the way into the driveway, like just enough into the driveway that they can leave the driveway immediately. So the passenger side door is like facing into the driveway. So I walk out and I'm standing there on the other side of the passenger door and he hands me the marshmallows from the driver's side through the passenger side window. And I take them and I'm all excited and I go back up to the front door and give them to my parents. But then I started thinking about it as I got older. I'm like, wait a minute, why would my mom and dad have me going and getting marshmallows from the driveway from some random person delivering marshmallows? That doesn't even make sense. I'm like, oh, well, maybe there was like a marshmallow delivery service that was delivering marshmallows. And I'm like, wait a minute, that don't make no fucking sense either. There's no marshmallow delivery service delivering marshmallows in Ziploc bags, you know what I mean? Like, that don't make any fucking sense. So then I realized, oh, they're giving me drugs to give to my parents. Like, that's crazy, because then I remembered like my mom would be saying random shit like, get the drugs out of the bag, or get the bag, there's drugs in the bag, and don't let Mario open the bag because there's drugs in the bag, or whatever. And it's just crazy to think that they were just sending me out there to get drugs, and like, this is one of the only memories I have of my dad, you know? It's wow. But we lived in that house for a little bit, and then my sister would have been born July of 1992. And then a few months later, my dad decided to commit suicide.
Your mother called my wife's dad because I was their contact, right? Your mom called her and told her that my dad had passed away. So I got on the phone that day on the 4th and I called Missouri and I talked to your mom. First, she had told me that he had died of a heart attack. And I knew him, and that was something that man was not going to die of a heart attack. This man was not that kind of person. So then I come to find out that he had committed suicide in the bathroom. And I guess the only one that saw him commit suicide was you. Because you're the one who was there.
I can only remember bits of the day that my dad committed suicide, like images, you know, that are just kind of burned into your head from those random days that crazy shit happens. But I remember, you know, my mom and dad were fighting that day, and my mom decides to leave, so she takes my sister and puts her in the little carrier, and then they leave. They go in the car, they drive off. So then I'm just sitting in the living room and my dad's in there. And then I can see my dad coming up to me and he may have said something to me or whatever. And then I can see him walking into the bathroom. And then he walks into the bathroom, he locks the door, and then he never came out. And he had taken in some cyanide. He drank the cyanide in the bathroom, and then he died in the bathroom. So my mom at some point comes home and she walks in the house and she's like, Mario, where's your dad? She starts walking around the house looking for him, realizes he's in the bathroom, locked himself in the bathroom. So she starts banging on the door, banging on the bathroom door. I'm still sitting in the living room. Mario, what did you do? What did you do? Open this door. And then she realized, okay, something's gone wrong. She calls 911 and the ambulance shows up, the police shows up, the EMTs come in and they take his body from the bathroom into the living room. And then they're just kind of sitting there, I guess, trying to do CPR. I don't know, because he was already dead. And then the last thing I can remember is an EMT coming in, like saying, like, Mario, get away from that. Like, you don't need to be anywhere near that. And then I got taken away from the situation. And that was that. After my dad died, my mom pretty much just kept smoking crack. I mean, I imagine the suicide didn't help. You know, your husband just killed himself and now you have no husband and now you're just stuck with 2 kids and you're an addict. So you're probably not going to be stopping crack anytime soon. And she didn't. I imagine she probably felt pretty bad about the whole situation. I mean, they were fighting. Who knows what they were fighting about, but she probably said some stuff that pushed him to the edge. And she left and then he did it, and you know, she probably felt like it was probably her fault, and it may have been, I don't know, you know, she was on crack probably saying crazy things and he did what he did and there's no really going back, there's no changing it now. So, you know, who do you blame? You just kind of have to move on. So that's what we did. Across the street is the first foster home that I had to live in. A few years after my dad died, my mom got busted with a crack rock, and she got sentenced to prison. But they didn't send her to prison, they let her stay home, and she had to serve 5 years probation. But if you mess up in the probation, they're gonna send you to prison, so then you have to serve that 3-year sentence. But during this whole process, me and my sister got taken out and put into foster home. But for some reason, I don't know why, we got separated. So I got put into one foster home, and my sister got put into another foster home. The dad at the other foster home that my sister was at, they beat her pretty bad. So they took her out of the foster home eventually and put her back in with my mom at some point. I don't know how long, but I was still stuck at the other foster home, which was pretty bad. I didn't get beat at the foster home I was at. It was more like a mental game, like I couldn't play with the other kids. I was always in trouble. I don't know what I ever did, but I was just always grounded, always in timeout, always doing something wrong. And I'm like 6 years old at this place, and I'm by myself. My sister's back at mom's house. I don't know anybody at the foster home. I have to watch the other kids play on the playground. I have to watch the other kids just watch movies. They all went out one time for like a foster family night or whatever. I got left at the house all day by myself. And it was like, I'm 6 years old and my mom is a crackhead and my dad just killed himself a few years ago. And you would think that the people in charge of those kids that are being taken away from their parents, you'd think that they would have a little more sympathy or patience for those kids, but that clearly wasn't the case. Eventually, I did get taken out of the foster home and I got put back in with my mom, but it never got better because she never stopped smoking crack. And eventually she just said, hey, you're gonna go with me to buy crack. And that's what we did. I went to buy crack with my mom. So these are the housing projects we moved into after the old Arkansas house. And this is when I remember my mom actually taking me to buy crack. Going to buy crack with my mom was always interesting because it's not like I ever knew what we were doing. I knew what we were doing was probably a little sketchy, but I wasn't really aware that we were buying drugs. I didn't know what drugs were. I didn't know what crack was. I didn't know any of that. All I knew was that we are going to the store and I am going to get a snack. So it would be the same routine every single night. Star Trek would play, it would get over, my sister would be asleep on the couch, my mom would pick her up, take her to the room, she'd come back in the living room and say, well, Mario, it's time to go. So we'd get in the car, and then we'd head off to the store, usually Kroger, which was a grocery store, or the Casey's, which was the gas station like right around the block. So when my mom would take me to buy crack, she would have to get cash back somewhere or whatever, so she would take me to this Casey's, which is now shut down. But she would take me to this Casey's and she would get me like some Butterfinger BBs or a big popsicle to keep me quiet and get cash back. I didn't actually realize this till I got older, that she was getting cash back. That's why she would have to go to these places and get me something that would cost basically nothing so that she could get her 20 back and go get a 20 sack of crack. But yeah, every time I pass this Casey's, I think about, wow, I used to go there when my mom would take me to buy crack. And now it's all gone. How sad. So after I got my snack to keep me quiet, which I miss Butterfinger BBs, those things were good. I would eat Butterfinger BBs now, so we should bring those things back. But anyways, I would have my snack, my Butterfinger BBs, my jumbo popsicle, and we would be on our way to Crack Hill. Going down to Crack Hill, is that what you guys called it too, or is that just something I heard?
Crack Hill.
Yeah, wow.
Right there, I got baptized on Crack Hill.
So this is Crack Hill, the old hill where crack was sold. My mom would pretty much do exactly what we're doing right now. She'd go down here to the basketball court, she'd stop, wait for somebody to get in the car, and then just drive around the block and drop them off at a corner after doing the crack deal. I'd be in the back seat the whole time. They'd get in the passenger seat, do the crack deal up here, and then I'd be in the back just watching, eat my popsicle, eating my Butterfinger BBs, whatever. But yep, the old crack skiball court. Well, that's where all the crack dealers would hang out. It's on the basketball court, and then, like I said, one of them would come out and give her some dope, and we'd be on our merry way. But yep, this is good old Crack Hill, and I definitely don't miss this place, so we're gonna get out of here. One time when we lived in the housing projects, my mom was leaving and she was like, Carmen, Mario, don't answer the door if anybody knocks. And we're 4 and 7, we don't know any better. Of course somebody knocks and I answer it. And the guy that's standing outside the front door was like, hey, your mom told me it was cool if I came over here and took you up to Casey's so I could air up your bike tire. And it's like, okay, that's cool. My bike was sitting there on the front porch and the bike tire had a flat on it. So it was like, let's go. My mom said you could, so I guess I can. So we went up to Casey's, aired up my tire, and we come back home. And the entire neighborhood is basically outside looking for me. They're all like, Mario, where are you at? And I was like, what the heck? I'm just airing out my bike tire with this guy. And then my mom looks at me and then she sees the guy I'm with and she's like, Mario, get away from him. Get away from my son. That's my son. Get away from him. And it was like, wait, what's going on? I'm just airing out my bike tire. And then it was like, wait, something's going wrong here. Who is this guy? And then I ran away, got to my mom, and then she was like, you know, we went inside. I guess she called the police. I don't know what happened. I don't know who that guy was. I don't know what was going on. But it was probably her drug dealer or somebody that she owed money to, and they're showing up like, hey, man, just so you know, I could if I wanted to, but, you know, here we are. So I'm not going to, but I still don't know who that guy is. I never got around to asking my mom who that was, but it's kind of just crazy that my mom, you know, would put us in that situation to have drug dealers around and crack around. And it's crazy to think that she would just leave her kids at home knowing that we're so young. And on top of that, when me and my mom would go to buy crack, you know, my sister would be left at the house by herself. So anybody that was watching the house and knew that she was gone, they could have just snatched her up and left, and that would have been that. And it's like, dude, you're in your 40s. Like, why are you doing this? You know, I'm 36 now. So it was crazy to think that in like 8 years, I could be doing the same thing she's doing. It's like that. No, what? So, you know, it's just crazy to think she was out there doing that stuff and that we were put in that situation at all. This is the house I lived in when I was in first grade, and it's so weird to be in front of this house. It's for sale right now. I might just go buy it. After we moved out of the housing projects, we officially moved in full-time with our alcoholic stepdad, Bobby. You ready to rock?
Yeah.
Did you think this is what we've been doing?
Not exactly, but
No.
I knew it was coming around sooner or later.
Yeah. Bobby had been around for a few years before this, but he had never really lived with us. But we knew who he was, and we didn't really like him, you know? He was just kind of a dick. He was always mean and loud and always just screaming about something. There was always something going on with him. And we just really didn't like the guy. And it wasn't like, you know, my dad passed away years ago, and it's not like we knew who he was really. So it's not like we were mad because, you know, my mom's with somebody else. It was literally just because he was a dick. He was a mean man. He's just a mean guy. But my mom obviously doesn't care about any of that. She's being provided drugs and she's being provided alcohol or whatever she needs to feed her addiction. So she keeps the guy around and they get married. And then it's like, now you got an alcoholic and a crackhead married, living under the same roof, supposed to be raising 2 children, and it's obviously not going to go very well. But I remember one day I woke up at this house. I'm asleep on the couch in the front living room, and I just wake up to my mom smashing me with a wiffle ball bat. I'm like, what is going on? Why am I getting hit right now? What did I do? I'm asleep. Why am I getting hit with a wiffle ball bat? I'm in first grade. What am I doing wrong that I need to get hit with a wiffle ball bat? My mom literally looks insane. She's just like, ah! I was like, what the fuck? I will never forget the wiffle ball bat story. That's just one of those things that's gonna be burned into my memory forever. Like, just looking up from the couch like, why are you hitting me with a wiffle ball bat at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning? Like, I'm just waking up. Like, that's crazy, man. And I wish my mom was around. I'd ask her about it. I'm like, what were you thinking, bitch? But, you know, she's not. So it is what it is. It's just crazy to think about, you know. I'm just getting smashed with a wiffle ball bat. I'll never forget that shit. But at the same time, it wasn't like, you know, that was uncommon. Like, after I got done getting hit, I just got up, I got my clothes on, and got my backpack, and then walked around the block and went to school. Because, you know, that was just another day. And it was like, hello, Tuesday. So she gets out of the car and just starts screaming, get back here, you fucking nah! And then starts screaming the N-word at him like multiple times. Like, and we're about to open the window and just jump out and be gone. My face is all fucked up. I'm bleeding. The bike's fucked up. My tooth is chipped. He just closes his eyes and clonks out. He's gone. He's passed out, knocked out, drunk. They were all just making fun of me while I chased this kid around the class. They're all just laughing at me. But my mom was not going to go to prison, so she decided, screw that. We're just going to run from the law. She got busted for prostituting. All these kids are around like watching, like, yeah, beat him up. Yeah, beat him up. I said, man, fuck them bitches, man. I fucking hate it here, man. They're all fucking idiots, man. Fuck them, man.